Atlus games are some of my favorite games of all time. They're truly incredible, and there's so many all time greats to choose from. And today, I'm going to do my best to narrow it down and give you all my top 10 Atlus JRPGs. Now, whether you first fell in love with them through Persona or Shin Megami Tensei or just some random 3DS game you picked up on a whim, Atlus has a way of sticking with you. There's a texture and style to their games that really hits different, and it definitely works. These aren't just the most popular or critically acclaimed games, they're the ones that left a mark on me personally, that surprised me, maybe challenged me, or just refused to leave my brain weeks after I finished them. If you've played any of these, I'd love to know where they all landed for you. Let me know in the comments below, and with all that said, let's not waste any more time, let's jump right into the list. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is the original SMT5, but just so much better. It's the way it was always meant to be played. Now, when SMT5 first launched, it had ambition, open zones, a sweeping apocalypse, and a sleek new protagonist, but it also had big gaps, narrative threads that fizzled, character arcs that went nowhere. Vengeance fixes all that and then some. This version adds an entirely new storyline, the Canon of Vengeance, which recontextualized the entire game. It's darker, more character driven, and more willing to grapple with the emotional cost of divine war. New characters, new demons, new dungeons. It's not just bonus content, it's rebalanced and a completely restructured game. The real MVP, though, is definitely the exploration. SMT5 doesn't do traditional dungeons, instead, it gives you this massive, semi open zones filled with verticality, secrets, and environmental storytelling. You're not just walking from point A to point B, you're climbing crumbling ruins, you're hunting rare demons, and finding that like one tiny cliff ledge that hides some mini boss that is one of the best in the game. Combat is some of the best seen in any SMT game. It's the press turn system refined to perfection. Build variety is insane, fusion is flexible and dangerous, and the new additions like demon haunts and revamped subquests give you more ways to connect with your party and the open world. If the original SMT5 was a good game waiting to be great, Vengeance is the moment it finally gets there. It's harsh, it's beautiful, and super punishing at times. If you played the original SMT5 and were turned off by some of the things I mentioned earlier, definitely give Vengeance a try. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is one of the best stories ever told in a video game. It actually shouldn't work if you look at all of its components individually, but it does, and it's incredible. Atlus publishing a Vanillaware visual novel, kind of tactics, tower defense hybrid, already sounds like a bit of a gamble, but what they delivered is one of the most intricate and emotionally layered games I've ever played. The story is spread across 13 protagonists. Each one has their own timeline, their own slice of mystery that spans decades and occasionally centuries. You'll bounce between time loops, android conspiracies, childhood memories, and somehow it all just fits. Piece by piece, you stitch together the larger picture, and that moment when it clicks, there's nothing else like it. The combat, which could have been an afterthought, is surprisingly compelling. You command sentinels in a minimalist battlefield, fending off waves of alien machines. It's a tactical, kind of puzzly combat system, and it gives the brain just enough to chew on between long narrative stretches. But really, the story is the heart of this thing. It's smart, it's melancholic, it's warm, even in its moments of existential dread. Every character gets a satisfying arc, and the final hours are pure greatness. 13 Sentinels is a love letter to sci-fi fans. It asks what we owe to the people who came before us, and what kind of future we want to leave behind. It's not a game for everyone, but if this sounds like it's for you, you're gonna love every minute of it. On paper, Tokyo Mirage Sessions looks like the result of a kind of brainstorming session gone rogue. Like, what if we took Fire Emblem, mashed it up with Persona, set it in a J-pop idol agency, and threw in some demons? But the result of all this is really awesome. Tokyo Mirage Sessions is one of those games that understands exactly what it wants to be. It's loud, it's bright, it's stylish, and endlessly joyful. The combat system borrows heavily from Persona's turn-based flow, but with its own rhythm. Literally, sessions, combos, elemental chaining, it's all there and it feels amazing. There's a constant sense of forward motion in this game. It has great pacing. But what makes it work is its sincerity. These characters are chasing dreams in a cutthroat industry, and there's something weirdly touching about how much it leans into that. The performas, the wardrobe changes, the dungeons based on fashion runways and TV sets. It could have felt like satire, but instead it's sincere. The Encore release on Switch smooths over a lot of the Wii U's rougher edges and trims out some of the backtracking, making this the definitive version of this game. It might not be what people expected from a crossover, but that's exactly why it stands out. It's Atlus at its most eccentric, and honestly, it's what makes this game so special. I think it's incredibly underrated, and it's one of my favorite Atlus games. Where Persona 3 is about confronting death and Persona 5 is more about rebellion, Persona 4 is about connection with other people and murder. It's also about murder. Golden takes what was already a beloved cult classic and makes it shine. The rural town of Inaba becomes a character in its own right. A sleepy, fog-covered place where everyone knows your name and every shadow hides a story. It's the most intimate Persona game, and arguably the most emotionally warm. At its core, Persona 4 Golden is a cozy murder mystery. You and your friends investigate a series of disappearances tied to the mysterious Midnight Channel. Diving into TV worlds that manifest people's inner turmoil, each dungeon feels so surreal. It's a symbolic projection of a character's fears or secrets. What sets it apart is the cast. This might be the strongest main group in the entire franchise. Yosuke, Chie, Yukiko, Kanji, Rise, they all have arcs that feel deeply personal. Even Teddy, for what it's worth. The game takes its time letting these characters grow, and you feel it. Every festival, every after-school hangout, every rooftop lunch, it all adds up. The combat is classic, Persona turn-based, but you're really here for the vibes. The sleepy summer days, the scooter rides, it's all super memorable. There's something magical about Persona 4 Golden. It's not the flashiest Atlus game, but it might be the one with the most heart in my opinion. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne is deep, eerie, and unapologetically strange. Nocturne isn't just one of the best games Atlus has ever made, it's their most uncompromising. And somehow, that's what makes it beautiful. Released in the early 2000s, Nocturne felt truly different. Where other JRPGs were obsessed with saving the world, Nocturne literally ends the world in its opening hour, and from that moment on, the game is one long, surreal experience unlike anything I've ever played before. You don't play as a plucky hero, you play as the demi-fiend, a half-human, half-demon figure with glowing tattoos and no clear moral compass. What makes Nocturne so unforgettable is its atmosphere. The music is minimal and unsettling. The environments are sparse, haunted, dialogue is cryptic. Everyone speaks like they're dreaming, it seems like. Even the most basic encounters feel really tense, thanks to the series' press turn system, a mechanic that punishes sloppy play and rewards smart decisions with extra turns. Every fight is a test, every boss is kind of like a brick wall, and when you finally beat them, it feels well earned. Not just because of strategy, but because you persisted through it. But the true genius of Nocturne lies in how it makes you feel. Honestly, you feel alone but powerful. There are no easy choices, just philosophies that different characters cling to in the wake of what's happening. In a lot of ways, Nocturne is the purest expression of what SMT is all about. It's harsh, it's weird, it's honest. It respects your intelligence and, more importantly, your conviction. It asks you to sit with discomfort throughout most of the game, and that's something that not many games are daring enough to do. 20 years later, it still feels ahead of its time. Unicorn Overlord is one of those games that seems designed to fly under the radar, but ask anyone who's played it and they'll all tell you it's one of the best games they've ever played. Developed by Vanillaware and published by Atlus, it's one of the most interesting modern takes on real-time tactics in years. Imagine Ogre Battle mixed with Fire Emblem with layers of customization and class synergy that get weirdly deep the further in you go. You play as a prince on a grand mission to retake his kingdom from an empire that's gone mad. Standard stuff maybe, but the execution is perfection. The world map feels alive like a living war game. You command squads in real time, capture forts, manage supplies, and tweak formations. It's so incredibly addictive. The systems in this game are dense but rewarding. Every character can be customized with specific passive and active skills, and you can arrange your squad's front line, back line, synergy bonuses can make or break a fight. Unicorn Overlord never feels cold. The tone is classic, almost nostalgic in an SNES way, but it has a lot of warmth to it. The dialogue is incredibly well written, and the music, triumphant. It's one of my favorite soundtracks Atlus has ever done. If you love strategy games with meat on their bones, or if you just want something that dares to bring back a nearly extinct subgenre and make it shine, don't miss this one. It's Vanillaware doing what they do best, creating worlds that just feel perfectly crafted for what they're trying to do. Persona 3 Reload is a rare kind of remake. Not just a glow up, not just a now with better lighting and UI type situation, but a real reimagining that respects the bones of the original while giving it the emotional clarity and mechanical finesse it always deserved. For those who missed it the first time around, Persona 3 is the game that redefined Atlus. It introduced social links, daily life mechanics, and the now iconic mix of dungeon crawling and school life. But it was also rough. The pacing dragged, Tartarus was this massive procedural slog, and character moments often got buried under clunky menus and limited presentation. Reload fixes all of that. The game still centers around the dark hour, that hidden time between midnight and morning when the world is frozen and monsters emerge. You, as the protagonist, join Seas, a group of students who fight shadows using their personas. But what Reload does so beautifully is bring more humanity to the journey. The voice acting is top-notch, characters feel lived in, even familiar beats like Junpei's insecurities or Mitsuru's mask of perfection, they all hit harder thanks to the, nuanced writing and the better pacing. Tartarus is still Tartarus though, but it's been redesigned to be less of a chore. There's a lot of quality of life improvements everywhere. I mean, you can directly control your party, there's auto healing between battles, the combat is snappier, and even the UI somehow makes choosing different options feel really stylish. Is it perfect? No. Still struggles a bit with the pacing here and there, and it doesn't include the earlier game's extra content, but as a retelling of one of the most thematically ambitious games in the genre, it sticks the landing. And that final week, it's still super brutal. Shin Megami Tensei 4 is a game that can make you feel really uncomfortable at times. Set in Tokyo, SMT4 balances its harsh worldview with a surprisingly fast-paced battle system and one of the most flexible demon fusion setups in the entire series. It's a game about ideology, sure, but it's also about compromise. About how sometimes the answers we're given don't always fit the questions that you're actually asking. What really stands out is how personal the journey becomes. Your party members represent clashing philosophies. They have doubts, they have pain, and when the game asks you to make choices, it's actually quite hard to do so. Mechanically, it's old school. SMT with modern touches, press turn battles demand precision. Every choice in combat, every buff, every exploit feels like a life or death decision. The world map is dense, sometimes confusing and full of secrets. There are rough edges, sure, but there's also an electricity to it, a kind of tension that never really lets up. In a lot of ways, SMT4 is the most ambitious game in the series. There's a lot of elements to the story and characters that make it stand out and set it apart from other Atlus games. This is a really memorable one, so if you haven't played it, you definitely should. Let's be honest, we all knew this was coming. If you've been around my channel for a while now, you know how much I love Persona 5. It isn't just Atlus at their most stylish, it's Atlus at their most confident. Every screen, every menu, every sound effect oozes personality. But under the kind of red hot flair is a game that actually has something to say. It's about anger, injustice, rebellion, about feeling small in a system designed to keep you there. And then finding your voice and fighting back against it. You play as Joker, a wrongfully accused teen sent to Tokyo on probation. What follows is a double life as a phantom thief, entering the hearts of corrupt adults and forcing them to confess their sins. It's part supernatural heist, part coming-of-age story, and a bit of a social simulator. Somehow, combining all these things just clicks so well. Combat is turn-based perfection. Baton pass chains, technical damage, gun skills, negotiation. It's fast, it's tactical, and it's always satisfying. Fusion is deeper than ever, and persona management never gets old. But Royal elevates everything. New characters, a whole new semester, new confidants, more balance, more story, and the final palace is just pure devastation. What makes Persona 5 Royal so special isn't just the system or characters or aesthetics, it's how personal it feels. These characters, their pain, their triumphs, those different activities you do with them, they all grow into something really intriguing. You live in this world, and when it's time to say goodbye, it kind of hurts. You really just want to spend more time in Persona with your friends and these characters. Atlus has made a lot of great games, but Persona 5 Royal is the one that'll be studied, celebrated, and probably felt and recognized for decades to come. Now, before we jump into the final game on this list, I have a couple of honorable mentions here, some games that really stood out to me that I really wanted to talk about. First up, I have Radiant Historia. This game gives me a really unique feeling every time I play it. It's definitely different by Atlus standards. It's a game about second chances, but also about the weight of responsibility that comes with them. The story follows a soldier who gains the ability to hop between timelines and undo the past. It's time travel, sure, but with purpose. You're not just flipping switches to get the good ending. You're navigating the consequences of branching decisions that all feel really meaningful. Combat leans on positioning. Enemies exist on a grid, and skills can push or pull them, letting you line up combos or disrupt their plans. It rewards planning over brute force, and it's endlessly satisfying when it clicks. But the heart of Radiant Historia is in the writing. The cast is understated but sharp, and the political intrigue has real stakes. And unlike some other time travel stories, it doesn't get tangled in its own rules. It knows when to be clever and when to be simple. The re-release adds new content and a fresh coat of paint, but it doesn't stray from the original's core strengths. If you've ever wished for a JRPG where every choice actually mattered, this might just be the one for you. Next up, I have Stellar Glow. It's one of those late life 3DS games that too many people slept on, which is honestly a shame because behind the familiar anime tropes and modest production, this is a gem of a strategy RPG with real heart. Stellar Glow takes a simple concept, witches who use songs as magic, and spins it into a compelling blend of tactical combat, character bonding, and yes, musical numbers. But the tone shifts surprisingly often. Just when you think you know the rules, it hits you with a betrayal or a moral dilemma or a tragic backstory that actually lands. Combat feels snappy and deliberate, with strong incentives to position your units smartly and make use of each character's unique quirks. The witches themselves are fascinating, not just because they're powerful, but because the game takes time to explore what it costs them to use that power. There's a surprising emotional weight here, and mechanically, Stellar Glow plays with some fun ideas. Tuning witches to help them confront internal struggles is really interesting and unique. It almost seems like a spin on the Persona format, but in a tactics form. The soundtrack, naturally, it's excellent, because when your combat spells are literally songs, it kind of has to be. It's not a perfect game, the pacing drags a little bit in the middle, and you'll see some tropes coming from miles away, but the core loop is strong, and the emotional beats hit hard when they need to. If you're looking for a heartfelt, under-the-radar Atlus title, this one's well worth your time. All right, moving on to the final game on the list, and that's Metaphor ReFantazio. There's something quietly surreal about starting up this game for the first time. You expect the Persona DNA, you know it's coming, but what you don't expect is just how boldly this game steps into its own identity. Atlus has made great games before, even legendary ones, but Metaphor ReFantazio feels like the moment they decided to truly break free from that high school setting and instead build an entirely new world. And that world is honestly mesmerizing. A sprawling high fantasy kingdom steeped in political intrigue, ancient myths, and social anxiety. It's very Atlus. There's no text message from a classmate at midnight. Instead, there's a talking coachman, a floating crystal heart that stores your emotions, and a looming royal election that becomes the axis of the entire plot. What makes Metaphor truly special, though, is how it rethinks the classic Atlus formula. Instead of social links, you have archetypes. These are kind of like personas, but essentially more tied to your beliefs and worldview than any one tarot card. Your choices don't just deepen a bond, they shape who you become. The turn-based combat too is a masterclass in momentum. It's fast, readable, and full of those crunchy, satisfying animations that have me up until 3 a.m. every night grinding away. But maybe the most Atlus thing about ReFantazio is its heart. Underneath the regal pageantry and monster slaying is a story about fear. It's not subtle, but it's sincere. And in a time when JRPGs sometimes chase spectacle at the cost of soul, Metaphor quietly reminds us why we fell in love with these games in the first place. It's Atlus swinging for the fences, not just iterating on Persona, but evolving it. This isn't just a side project. This is the blueprint for what's to come next. And if this is what the post-Persona 5 era looks like, we might be entering the most exciting chapter in Atlus history. All right, everyone, that's it for me in this one. That's my top 10 Atlus JRPGs. Atlus has released some of my favorite games over the years, and there's something truly incredible about the variation in the games on this list. Sure, you'll find a lot of SMT and Persona games here, but each of those games feel vastly different. And while some of the mechanics cross over in ways, the games themselves feel truly unique. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite Atlas games are. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. It really helps out the channel. I really look forward to reading your comments, and until next time, I'm out.